Chapter 1.1 Scope and Applicability. Part 1 covers a wide range of topics that could be summarised as the rules about the rules. This section contains crucial information that is often referenced in the DGSA exams. The first place we're going to start is in Scope and Applicability, Chapter 1.1. Within this chapter we'll find sections on scope and exemptions. Scope and exemptions are important legal concepts which go beyond the realm of dangerous goods or even transport law. Many legal provisions work on the principle as a set of conditions which bring you into the requirements, scope. In addition to this, they either provide some relief or even complete release from the regulations, exemptions. ADR expresses scope, 1.1.2, as dangerous goods which are barred from international carriage, or dangerous goods which are authorised for international carriage. It goes on to explain that the second point is in regard to the classification of dangerous goods, use of packagings, tanks and consignment procedures as laid down in ADR. The short version to this is that dangerous goods are whatever your ADR manuals say are dangerous goods. And that being the case, we need to comply with all the relevant sections of ADR. Scope then is quite clear cut. The real challenge for would-be DGSAs is not in the scope, it's in the different and differing exemptions. These broadly take the form of complete exemptions, special provisions, partial exemptions, and domestic exemptions or national exemptions, and we call these derogations. It's worth stating that there's no official body issuing exemption certificates. Your organisation chooses whether to use them or not, but you must be prepared to defend your use of an exemption in a court of law should it be challenged. Let's look at 1.1.3 for exemptions from ADR. These exemptions could apply to any country, also known as a contracting party. The provisions laid down in ADR do not apply to the carriage of dangerous goods by private individuals where those goods are packaged for retail sale and intended for personal, domestic use or leisure and sporting activities, provided that measures have been taken to prevent any leakage during normal conditions of carriage. This is found in section 1.1.3.1a. An example of this is if you buy flammable solids in the form of firelighters for a barbecue or highly corrosive drain cleaner. As a private individual, you don't need a transport document or special markings on the packages or vehicles. It also limits the amount of fuel a private individual can carry, no more than 60 litres per receptacle or 240 litres per transport unit. Another exemption is for enterprises undertaking the carriage of dangerous goods when it's ancillary to their main activity, such as building or civil engineering, surveying, repairs or maintenance. Tread carefully here because there's a package limit and it doesn't cover distribution activities within that same company. In some industries, this is referred to as tools of the trade, although it's not in ADR, but it should be thought of in those terms. That is, the person transporting the dangerous goods is the person using the dangerous goods. You can see by this exemption, they can often be open to interpretation, and it's one of those exemptions that can throw up more questions than answers. Don't fall into the trap of reading what you want to see when it comes to exemptions. Exemption 1.1.3.1d covers the carriage by breakdown vehicles or moving vehicles involved in accidents. And exemption 1.1.3.1e covers emergency services where the preservation of life takes precedence over carriage of dangerous goods. Section 1.1.3.3 exempts fuel contained in vehicle tanks for propulsion or auxiliary equipment such as generators or refrigeration units. Fuel for those auxiliary engines or equipment is also exempt. Scope and exemptions must always be viewed in that order. Scope, then exemptions. To put it bluntly, you don't need to get out of something if you're not in it in the first place. A more complex exemption is found in 1.1.3.6, which relates to the quantities carried per transport unit. This is often referred to as the small load exemption or small load threshold, and it's such an important exemption in ADR and in your DGSA exams that we're going to cover it twice. Firstly in the next video, and then on the last day of your course for a deeper understanding.